For these explorations, we had to take a plane. Now we've got to get a train. Joined by my friends, I was headed to two very special, world famous abandoned locations. Right, let's go. So today we've gone a little bit further afield to Budapest. We're going to be doing some Soviet adventurising and checking out an abandoned train yard first here, where they made some of the biggest trains in Europe throughout the last 100-200 years. And then we're going to be infiltrating a 1920s power station this evening. It should be insane. I really hope we do it, because I've been planning it hard. Let's go. But this trip wasn't purely for the purposes of urban exploring, and we wanted to explore the full width and breadth of Budapest culture in the few days that we had there. This place certainly isn't lacking in stunning architecture or things to do to relax. Join us as we go beyond the point abroad. The first place was the more straightforward of the two. It took us to the suburb of Istvantelek. Part of the depot is still used today, and another part is a museum. Right, we need to get over there, come on. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's an office. The depot began construction around 1902, so a range of locomotives, both old and new, can be found. We weaved through several old carriages as we approached the building. Nature has truly reclaimed this place, with trees sprouting from the floors and the glass skylight having been shattered by the weather. Being unsure on what the place was like, our suspicions were eased when we found other photographers finding their way inside. If it wasn't the most exclusive location, it was still well worth a visit. So we've made it into the Istvantelek train depot. This depot was a huge place that supplied trains to Europe. It served Hungary during World War II to the Nazis. Some of the trains used in the Holocaust were actually made here. So there's a lot of history throughout into the Soviet era. You know, both good and also very dark at times as well. But yeah, it's an amazing place, and even though it is very well known, it's still a fascinating sight to see for yourself. Yeah, pretty cool. This was the main attraction. A MAV-class 424 steam train bearing a resplendent Soviet red star. Made of cast iron and nicknamed the Buffalo, This enormous train is an obvious relic of Hungary's time as a Soviet puppet state. The 1950s was defined by the Hungarian Revolution, which saw a war being fought across Budapest as its people tried but failed to keep out the Russians. And this building is Magyar Radio, where the revolution first broke out. We visited it several days before our exploration. The train could have been built close to the time of the revolution in the 50s. As the Russians had their way, the Red Star would remain firmly emblazoned upon Hungary until 1989. It's small details like this in abandoned places that can really tell you about what was going on wider in the world at the time. It's awesome to see this classic place. I remember seeing in books as a kid when I was like 14. I used to get some abandoned photography books and I remember seeing this train in it, and now here we are. We sadly heard that the depot had recently been subjected to an arson attack, but fortunately this scathed only a few of the carriages, and we were glad to find that the yard still survived. We wandered deeper into the depot and eventually made a grim discovery. So, we've been walking around here, and amongst the trains we come across these old wooden carriages that look a little bit older and a bit different to some of the others. And with a bit of research, it turns out that some of the wooden carriages like this one here with the grates at either end, just very small ports almost for people to look out, but not proper windows. Well, it turns out that some of these were actually built for the Holocaust. Hungary obviously was under Nazi German rule. Being such a renowned train manufacturer here, Istvantelek, they decided to put them to use in the Holocaust. And these carriages, in films like Schindler's List and stuff, you actually see the Jews being taken to concentration camps on these carriages, and they'd hose water through the grates and stuff to keep them alive. But yeah, it's pretty miserable history, but it just shows you that a place like this, you know, there's a lot of stories behind the walls, and some of them are pretty grim. Whilst it is not verified if the exact wagons here did see active use as Holocaust trains, they are of the exact kind. Unless they were built here after World War II, there would be very little other reason for them to be here. This photo found online clearly shows its German origins, and this one shows the same Deutsche Reichsbahn text on the side. And these photographs show wagons of the same kind in use. Look closely at the details. The railway depot at Istvantelek is a perfect symbol of Hungary's troubled history and struggle for independence. Here we have seen reminders of a place torn between the grip of both fascism and communism at either extreme. It is surprising how much can be learnt from waste. In its own way, an unfiltered memorial to the brutal realities of the past. We finished up by exploring some other wagons of vintage origin, perhaps having been here since when the yard first opened. Very old looking. We passed the depot's distinctive water towers before making our leave, and never forget to try the front door.
Yeah, you film.
Turns out it was open all along.
You said it's open.
Amazing. We were headed back to the city to recuperate as we had a long evening ahead. Let's go. Now I've had to dub over the audio on this part as the bar was playing Queens of the Stone Age, but I'm saying that it's 5 PM, we're very tired, and that this beer was very much needed, but I better not say cheers. Budapest was so big we could only scratch its surface in the time we were there for, but we were aiming high for our second explore. The Kelenfold power station opened in 1914 as the largest electricity generation plant in the world. Its control room was added in the late 1920s and is perhaps one of the nicest ever made, an early example of Art Deco. Being abroad, our usual safety net of civil trespass was somewhat uncertain, so we really didn't want to get caught. I'd studied this route online countless times and executed it exactly as the training had prepared me for. However, navigating the dark building wouldn't quite be so easy. At this moment, our hearts sank as we heard someone calling in through the window. But unbelievably, we still somehow managed to proceed unimpeded. Broken legs narrowly avoided, we managed to work our way around the rusting death trap using limited light not to give us away. We found a way through the air ducting into the disused original section of the power station. Just watch out for this because it's rusty metal. Come over it. And come onto the concrete bits. Right, let's keep going down. We knew we had to go up as the control room was at the roof. Identifying it from the outside, we finally managed to get our bearings and we knew what to aim for. With hearts racing almost too fast to catch a breath, we knew that the fruit of our labour was so close, but there was still a chance of failure. Then, out of nowhere, it emerged from the gloom like a glowing spectre. Whilst the modern world is now thoroughly explored, the age of discovery lives on through urban exploration. Rather than charting the high seas, it is an introspective effort to see in order to believe. Yet whilst this craftwork was laid in front of us in its sublime decay, part of my brain still doesn't believe that I really saw it. Some abandoned places are simply too bizarre and otherworldly to compute with our understanding of the built environment, and with today's industrial architecture being the epitome of functional utilitarianism, one can't help but feel a great sense of respect for the dignified pride the designers of the past took in their infrastructure, especially when it was so tucked away. And just to make it even more interesting, there's an air raid shelter smack bang in the middle of the control room. The power station would have made for a prime bombing target during World War II, so it was important to protect the crew under their glass ceiling.
Wow, that is bloody amazing. We've flown across Europe for this, but it was damn.
Of course, I had to capture a few photographs, which I think do this place a lot more justice. As dusk fell, now it was time to leave and hopefully get out alive.
Put the light in the pocket quickly. Just cover the light. Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, none of us know Hungarian.
A következő megálló Mester
Show us the hands,
utca, Könyves
George.
Kálmán körül.
Look at the state of us. We are covered in filth, but we made it out. We managed to do it. Hope you've enjoyed this little expedition abroad. It's definitely been different. It's been a great day, very tiring. I can't wait to get some Hungarian beers and some goulash down me.